Picture this. You're 25 years old. You just got your first real job. You're making $50,000 a year, which feels like a fortune compared to your broke college days. You open a Roth IRA. You're excited. You're doing the responsible thing. You read somewhere that you should invest 10% of your income, so you set up automatic transfers. $500 a month goes straight into your account. You buy index funds like the internet told you to. You check your balance after the first month. $512. Cool. You made 12 bucks? After 6 months, you've got $3,000 saved. The market went up a little. Now it's $3,140. You made $140 in 6 months. That's like $23 a month. You could make more than that doing a single DoorDash delivery. After a full year, you've contributed $6,000. With market gains, maybe you're sitting at around $6,400. Your portfolio went up by $400. You just spent an entire year disciplining yourself, sacrificing nights out, skipping vacations, living below your means, and your net worth increased by the cost of a used PlayStation. You start to think, is this even worth it? At this rate, I'll be 80 before this makes any difference. And honestly, you're not wrong to feel that way. Because here's the brutal truth that nobody tells you when you start investing. The first $100,000 is a curse. It is the hardest, most demoralizing, soul-crushing pile of money you will ever accumulate, and it barely grows. My name is Bob, and I've spent decades watching people give up on investing right before the magic happens. If you're someone who's been investing for a few years, and you feel like your portfolio is going nowhere, or if you're just starting out and you want to understand why the beginning is so painfully slow, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're not talking about get-rich-quick schemes or crypto hype. We're talking about the mathematical reality of why your money doesn't actually start working for you until you cross a very specific threshold. And once you understand this, everything changes. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime business partner and one of the greatest investors who ever lived, once said something that stopped me in my tracks. He said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it." This is coming from a man worth billions. And he didn't say the first million is hard. He didn't say building wealth is hard. He specifically said the first 100,000. Because Charlie understood something that most people never figure out. Wealth building is not linear, it's exponential. And until you hit that first $100,000 mark, you're essentially pushing a boulder up a mountain with your bare hands. But once you cross that line, the boulder starts rolling on its own. Let me show you exactly why with some math that'll make your brain hurt in the best way possible. Let's say you invest $500 every single month into the S&P 500. Historically, the market returns about 10% per year on average. Some years it's up 30%, some years it's down 20%, but over decades it averages around 10%. Now, in your first year, you contribute $6,000. At 10% annual return, you'd make about $600 in gains. That's $50 a month of passive income. Pathetic, right? You're working your ass off to save $500 a month, and the market is giving you 50 bucks. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. You're doing 90% of the work. But let's keep going. After 5 years of contributing $500 per month, you've put in $30,000 of your own money. With compound growth at 10%, your portfolio is now worth around $38,700. You've made $8,700 from the market. That's $1,740 per year, or $145 per month. Still not impressive. You're still doing most of the heavy lifting. The market is only contributing about 23% of your monthly growth. You save $500, the market adds $145. You're still the workhorse. Now here's where it starts to get interesting. After 10 years of disciplined investing, you've contributed $60,000. Your portfolio is now worth around $102,000. You've made $42,000 from compound interest. That's $4,200 per year, or $350 per month. Now we're talking. For the first time, the market is contributing over half of what you're contributing. You put in $500, the market adds $350. The ratio is finally shifting. But notice something critical. It took you 10 years to get here. 10 years of sacrificing, of delaying gratification, of watching your balance crawl upward at a snail's pace. Most people quit somewhere in years 3 through 7. They look at their balance, see $20,000 or $30,000 and think, this is pointless, I'll never be rich. And they cash out and buy a car or take a trip to Europe. They give up right before the exponential curve kicks in. because here's what happens next. And this is where Bob learned the most important lesson of his investing life. After 15 years, you've contributed $90,000. Your portfolio is now worth around $174,000. You've made $84,000 from the market. That's $5,600 per year, or $466 per month. The market is now contributing almost as much as you are every single month. After 20 years, you've put in $120,000. Your portfolio is worth $280,000. The market has contributed $160,000. That's $8,000 per year, or $666 per month. The market is now out-earning your contributions. You put in $500, the market adds $666. The ratio has flipped. The boulder is rolling downhill now, and it just keeps accelerating. After 25 years, your portfolio is worth $466,000. After 30 years, it's worth $761,000. And here's the kicker. In that 30th year alone, your portfolio will grow by about $76,000. That's more than your entire annual salary when you started. Your money is now working harder than you ever did. But it took you 10 years just to hit that first 100,000. 10 years of feeling like you were getting nowhere. This is the curse. The math is exponential, but our brains are linear. We expect to see steady, consistent progress. We think if we save $6,000 a year, we should see $6,000 of growth, then $12,000, then $18,000. But that's not how compound interest works. Compound interest is a liar in the beginning. It whispers promises it can't keep for the first decade, and then suddenly it explodes. Let's dig into why this happens mathematically, because understanding the mechanics is what keeps you in the game when your emotions are screaming at you to quit. When you have $1,000 invested and the market goes up 10%, you make $100. When you have $10,000 invested and the market goes up 10%, you make $1,000. Same percentage, but 10 times the absolute dollar amount. This is the part people intellectually understand, but don't emotionally internalize. Your returns are a function of your balance. When your balance is small, your returns are small, no matter what the percentage is. If you get a 100% return on $1,000, you make $1,000. If you get a 10% return on $100,000, you make $10,000. The bigger base makes a bigger difference than the percentage return. This is why the first 100,000 is the curse. You're trying to build the base, and it's slow and painful because every dollar you add is $1. You contribute $500. Your account goes up $500. Exciting, right? No, it's not exciting. It's tedious. But once you have $100,000, a 10% year means you make $10,000 without lifting a finger. That's almost 2 months of your original salary just appearing in your account because the market went up. That's when investing stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like magic. Bob remembers the exact moment he crossed $100,000. He had been investing for 9 years. He was tired. He had friends who were buying new trucks and taking ski trips to Colorado, and he was eating ramen and driving a 15-year-old Honda Civic. He logged into his Vanguard account one morning, and the balance read $103,217. He stared at it. He didn't feel rich, he felt exhausted. But then the market had a good year. By the end of that year, his balance was $115,000. He had contributed his usual $6,000, but the account had grown by $12,000. The market had doubled his contribution. For the first time in his life, his money was doing more work than he was. And that's when everything clicked. The curse was broken. Here's the psychological trap that kills most people's wealth-building journey. We live in a world of instant gratification. You order something on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You swipe right, you match instantly. You post a photo, you get likes within seconds. But investing? Investing is the opposite of instant gratification. Investing is planting an oak tree. You water it every day for years, and it looks like a twig. And then one day, you look up, and it's 30 feet tall, and you don't even remember when it grew. The first 100,000 is the twig phase. It doesn't look like much. It doesn't feel like much, but you have to water it anyway. And here's the part that makes it even harder. Life is expensive. You're not just trying to save $500 a month in a vacuum. You've got rent. You've got student loans. Your car needs new brakes. Your friend is getting married, and you're in the wedding party, which costs $1,500 between the bachelor party and the tux rental. Your laptop dies. Your dog gets sick. Every month, something tries to rob you of that $500. And when your investment account is sitting at $12,000, it's really tempting to say, screw it, I'll just take $2,000 out. It's not like $12,000 is changing my life anyway. And that's the moment you lose. Because that $2,000 you pull out, over 30 years at 10%, that would have been $34,800. You just traded a weekend trip to Miami for a new car in retirement. But your 25-year-old brain doesn't see it that way. The real enemy of the first 100,000 isn't the market. It's not the economy. It's not taxes or fees or inflation. The real enemy is you. It's your impatience. It's your comparison to other people. It's your inability to delay gratification when the reward feels impossibly distant. And the system knows this. The entire consumer economy is designed to separate you from that $500 before it ever hits your investment account. There's a new iPhone every year. There's a subscription for everything. There's always a sale, always a vacation, always something that seems more urgent than a boring index fund that won't pay off for a decade. Capitalism is incredibly efficient at extracting money from people who don't have discipline. And the first 100,000 is the test. It's the filter. It's the fire that burns away everyone who isn't serious. So how do you actually beat the curse? How do you get to $100,000 faster so you can start experiencing the exponential growth sooner? There are really only two variables you can control: how much you save and how long you wait. You can't control the market, you can't control returns, but you can control your savings rate and your timeline. Let's run some different scenarios. If you invest $500 a month at 10% annual return, it takes about 10 years to hit $100,000. If you can increase that to $1,000 per month, you hit $100,000 in just over 6 years. You just cut 4 years off the curse by doubling your contributions. How do you double your contributions? You increase your income or you decrease your expenses. Ideally both. This is where Bob made his biggest mistake early on. He thought investing was about finding the right stocks or timing the market. He wasted years trying to be clever, trying to beat the market, reading stock forums at 2 in the morning. And meanwhile, his coworker Sarah, who knew nothing about investing, just set up automatic contributions of $800 a month into a target date fund and forgot about it. 10 years later, Sarah had $130,000. Bob had $70,000 because he kept stopping and starting, moving money around, getting scared and going to cash during downturns. Sarah won by being boring and consistent. The lesson? The first 100,000 is not won by being smart. It's won by being consistent and patient. Here's another angle most people miss. Your income in your 20s and 30s is probably the lowest it'll ever be. If you're making $50,000 at 25, you'll probably be making $80,000 or $100,000 by 35 if you're competent and you switch jobs strategically. That means your ability to contribute goes up over time. In year 1, $500 a month feels hard. By year 7, $1,000 a month feels doable. By year 10, $1,500 a month is realistic. So not only is the market compounding your money, but your income is compounding your contributions. This accelerates everything. The people who hit 100,000 in 6 or 7 years are the ones who increase their income and their savings rate simultaneously. But let's talk about the dark side of this, because I want to be honest with you. Some people never make it to 100,000, not because they can't, but because life happens. Medical debt, divorce, job loss, taking care of aging parents, having kids. Life is messy and unpredictable, and sometimes you have to pull money out of investments to survive. And that's okay. This isn't about shaming anyone. This is about understanding the math so that when you do have the ability to save, you understand why it matters so much to protect that first 100,000. Because once you have it, it becomes much, much harder to lose. The compound interest machine is working for you. You'd have to have a catastrophic life event to wipe it out. But when you're at 20,000, one bad month can set you back a year. Here's what Bob wishes someone had told him at 25. The first 100,000 will feel like it takes forever. You will be tempted to quit. You will watch your friends buy houses and cars and take expensive vacations, and you will feel like you're missing out. You will feel like a sucker for putting money into an account that barely moves. But if you can push through that feeling, if you can stay consistent, if you can give yourself 10 years, everything changes. The second 100,000 will take 4 years. The third 100,000 will take 2.5 years. By the time you're at 500,000, you're gaining 100,000 every single year without even trying. The curse breaks. the boulder rolls downhill. Your money starts working harder than you ever could. So what's the actual actionable advice here? First, automate everything. Set up automatic transfers the day after your paycheck hits. If the money never touches your checking account, you won't miss it. Second, increase your contributions every time you get a raise. If you get a 3% raise, increase your investment contributions by 2%. You still get to feel the raise, but you're accelerating your timeline. Third, avoid lifestyle inflation like the plague. When you make more money, the temptation is to upgrade everything. Bigger apartment, nicer car, fancier restaurants. Resist. Keep living like you make 50,000 even when you're making 80,000. That gap is how you win. Fourth, ignore your account balance for years at a time. Seriously. Log in once a year to make sure everything's working, then close the tab. Watching it daily or weekly will drive you insane and tempt you to make emotional decisions. And finally, remember that the first 100,000 is the initiation. It's the price of admission to the wealth-building game. Everyone who's ever achieved financial independence had to get through it. Warren Buffett had to get through it. Your rich uncle had to get through it. The anonymous millionaire next door had to get through it. There's no shortcut. There's no hack. It's just time, consistency, and discipline. The curse is real, but it's temporary. And on the other side of it is a life where your money works for you, where you have options, where you can say no to things you don't want to do. That's worth 10 years of eating ramen and driving a beater. If this video changed how you see that number in your investment account, if you realized you're not failing, you're just in the curse phase, share this with someone who needs to hear it. We don't talk enough about how hard the beginning is. We only see the success stories after people have made it, but the real story is in the grind. The real story is in the first 100,000. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.